This episode of Brains on Games is about a heist game where you prove that you're the greatest thief. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and like I said, we are going to be talking about a heist game today, and I am a sucker for heist movies, and I love heist board games too. And not too long ago, the designer of a game called Greatest Thief sent me a preview copy of their game. So this is a game that's coming up soon on Kickstarter, and the pieces that you're going to see are prototypes, but this is a heist game. You can play it with 2 players. It's for kids aged 12 and up, but as you'll see, maturity is going to be a real factor here. In terms of how long it takes to play, you don't play the game all in one sitting, so it can be any length of time. You could spend up to a week before you're finished a game like this. Let's talk about Greatest Thief. In Greatest Thief, each player is going to have their own board that represents their mansion or the place where they're trying to hide this artifact so that the other player can't steal it. So there's 2 artifacts that come in the game. One looks like a clock and one's sort of like a candelabra of some kind. But you're putting this face down in the board somewhere so that the other player, you're hoping that the other player won't be able to find it or be able to get through your defenses in order to steal this artifact. The boards are double-sided, so I'm showing you both sides here. So the other side of this board looks like this, and it doesn't really matter which one you choose. It's just personal preference. Obviously, I picked this one. I was playing with my son, so it says Dad on it instead of Brian. This is a game where you're not both playing at the same time. It's meant to be a game that you set up on a table and you leave it. And there's a little token that you'll put in the board that says your turn. So if I finish my turn, I'll take this token out of my board and put it in my opponent's token so that he or she will know that it's their turn to play the game. And you might kind of walk by the table and take a peek to see what the game state looks like. You can set the game up inside the game box. There are instructions for how to build your little mansion inside this box so that you can stack the 2 box covers together and put the game away if it's in the road but you're not quite finished playing yet. The maturity level of your opponent is really important. If I'm playing with my son or if I'm playing with my nieces, maybe once a week, we might do a couple of turns if they came to visit. You have to trust that they're going to play the game without cheating because you can't sit there and watch them. That's the whole point. You're playing it asynchronously, I guess you would say, and you're trusting them that they're going to follow the rules and not fudge their die rolls, etc. You've got a bank envelope. That's where all the cash goes, and each player is going to have a player envelope where they'll hide their however much money they have, and there's also this card called the training card. Once I explain how the turns go, it's going to be very clear. It's a simple game to teach and understand. You start the game with 4 different types of security systems, and they are the cheapest version of the systems that you can get in the game, and there are a couple of extras that you don't even start with. I've laid everything out here. So it's possible in the game to buy laser gates or locks or entry sensors or security cameras or security guards or motion detectors. And at the beginning of this game, each player is going to start with the cheapest motion sensor, 1 camera, and 2 locks. That's not even quite enough to fill up your whole board with security in order to hide your little artifact. But the point of the game is that you're going to be buying more of these things as you go. On your turn, you can perform 3 actions, and you get to choose from 5 different things that you might want to do. You can train your thief, which means that you would spend some of your money. You start the game with $2,000. You can spend some of your money to improve your statistics, and what that's going to do is allow you to add a number to your die rolls so that you'll be more likely to be successful in the other actions that you might take. So if you choose the training action, you can train up to 3 of these skills, whether it's cracking locks or disabling cameras or bypassing security guards. And for $200 per point, you can add 1. It costs $400 to get a +2 bonus to your roll, or $800 to get a +4 bonus, which could be really valuable in the game. You could also perform what's called a small heist. And the small heist means that you're going to draw a card from this deck. It's all about earning some cash so that you can buy better security systems or spend more money on training. You might steal from an ATM. This is another reason why maybe maturity is very important. You're trying to be a thief here, so the heist cards are all about blackmail and robberies. There's an art robbery in here somewhere. There are even references to drug dealers and things like that. So you can certainly pull out cards that you're not too sure that your kids could handle. But for example, here with this ATM, I'll put it over on the board so you can see, you're going to have to make 2 rolls to successfully complete this mission or this heist. One is that you have to roll 9 or higher to bypass the cameras. And remember, if you've trained in bypassing security cameras, maybe you only have to roll an 8 or higher. And then you have to break through a keyed lock, and that's an easier one. You only have to roll 5 or higher, and you're rolling 2 of these 6-sided dice, and then adding your bonus to it if you happen to have trained that area. If you're successful, fantastic, you're going to earn $2,700. If you're unsuccessful, though, you're going to lose your next turn. And what that will mean is that rather than just putting this little your turn token like this, it goes here in this turn token area, you're going to flip it over to the back, and it allows the other player to take 2 turns because you've lost a turn because you weren't successful on that heist. This heist requires 1 high roll and another roll that's sort of in the middle if you're rolling with 2 6-sided dice, and it's got a pretty good reward but a fairly serious punishment because you're losing a turn. The rewards and punishments vary. You might have to only make 1 roll, you might have to make 3 rolls, and of course the difficulty levels of those rolls are variable as well. So you might think about training first and then doing the heist to earn more money. So you can train, you can do a small heist, you can also try to break into your opponent's mansion and steal the artifact. We'll talk about that. That's how you win the game. You can purchase security systems, and that might mean that you're going to upgrade. What I've placed here are the different security systems that are of the highest value. So if you've got $3,000 saved up, you can get this awesome laser gate where the opponent will have to roll an 11 or higher on 2 6-sided dice in order to bypass that. And you're going to put that face down somewhere in your mansion in order to prevent the other player from finding the artifact. You can trade. When you're buying new security systems, you can trade the old ones and get rid of them, and you'll get their value back. So if I trade away this little lock, it's going to give me $100 towards whatever the other thing is that I'm going to be buying. The other thing that you can do on your turn is install the systems that you bought or move the systems around so that you're shuffling things and confusing your opponent, hopefully confusing your opponent so that they're not going to be sure where the artifact is or what the security is that they're going to have to get through. If I play 1 turn and I get hung up on that laser gate where I didn't roll that 11, I might start training laser gates because I know that's going to be one of the obstacles that's in my way, but you can shuffle those around on your turn and make sure that you're keeping your opponent guessing. If I were going to try and do the final big heist and try and win the game, you can see here I've used the dry erase marker that comes with the game to add a training turn. So I've got a few points in locks and 1 in security cameras. I've added some pieces here to the mansion where I'm going to break in. So it's my turn. So I've got to start in the yard and work my way through this path. And they've got conveniently in the board, there's a little spot so you can get your finger in to flip these pieces over and see what it is that you're going to have to roll. Here we're starting with a motion detector where I have to roll a 7 or higher in order to beat it. I haven't taken any points in motion sensors, so that's not going to be very helpful. And if I manage to roll a 7, then I get to move on to the next thing. And then you'll flip the next one on the pathway. Sometimes there's a choice that you can make. Here's an easy roll. It's that security camera where it's only 4 or higher, but I've taken a point in security camera, so I only have to roll a 3, so I'm probably going to get through that no problem. And then we'll go to the next part on the path if I can get it out here. Short fingernails might be a problem with this game. Here's the lock where I have to roll a 4 or higher, and then maybe I'm going to get stuck on rolling a 9 or higher on this motion detector. Now, what happened in the first game that we played is I started with a heist and I earned lots of money, and then I bought one expensive piece of security. So it meant that the pathway to get through was pretty clear, but my thinking was if you've got to roll a 9 or higher, I think the thing that I bought was you had to roll a 10 or higher to beat it. I thought, well, I probably will have at least one turn to buy some more stuff. But it turned out that my son got a lucky roll and he got through and he managed to steal the artifact. And here's the artifact at the end of the trail. Now, if you do steal the artifact, you take that and then the player who stole it gets to add it to their map face down again, and the opponent gets to try to steal the artifact back. So there's one last turn once your artifact has been stolen where you'll be trying to maybe extend the game a little bit longer. If instead of making that roll, my son had messed up on this one, here's what happens. Everything just stays like this so that when I come back to the table, well, here, I'll move the turn token. So now you can see it's the other player's turn. So when I came back to the table, I would see that he got this far, but he couldn't get past this thing. And then I could shuffle things around or maybe buy some new security or trade things in, like I said, to keep him guessing and make sure that he can't get that artifact. But once he steals it, you get one turn to try and get it back. And if you can't do that, then the opponent has won the game. Of course, this is a game where you're planning ahead and you're budgeting. You're budgeting money that you're earning from heists in order to spend it either on improving your security or improving your skills. You're budgeting those actions because you never quite have, with 3 actions, you never quite have enough to do all the things you might want to do on your turn. So those are examples of the executive functioning skills, the behaviors you need to be able to do in order to work towards a future goal. But the real reason, because we've talked about executive functioning over and over again, the real reason why I wanted to talk about this game is that it's a game where you play it when you're not in the room together. And one important predictor of mental health, one important correlate of being able to be resilient is being able to hold on to relationships when you're not physically present with the person who you're in the relationship with. This is a 2-player game. You're likely going to play it with someone you live with. So it's a game for couples, or parents are going to play it with their kids. And if a child, for example, can hold on to and feel close to their parent when they're not physically together, that's going to allow a whole bunch of other things to develop, including resilience. So a game like this, where I'm taking a turn when my son's not around, that's giving him the message that, oh, Dad's thinking about me. He took a turn after I went to bed, or he took a turn before he went to work, and now I get to do a turn, and we're progressing through this game, me and Dad, even though Dad is not right there with him. And, just like putting a note in your child's lunch bag, or sending him a text message during the day, you're giving your child the message that you're thinking of him, and that is important for relationship building. And if there's one thing that's important for mental health, I would say, and development in general, it is those secure attachments, secure relationships. And one of the people who I think has a fantastic understanding and is really moving the model forward in attachment is Gordon Neufeld. He's a Canadian psychologist, actually, in Vancouver. And I'll include a video. So there'll be a link in the show notes beneath this video. Maybe I'll put his name up here beside me. But Gordon has a good talk about the roots of attachment. So, and that's on YouTube. So I'll link to that in the show notes below. And that is Greatest Thief in a nutshell. A game where you're exercising those executive functioning skills and you're also doing probably some relationship building at the same time. Thanks so much to the designers for sending the game along. I'll include a link to the Kickstarter as soon as I have it. That'll go in the show notes below the video. But if you have any questions or comments for me, you can leave them below the video, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous episodes are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.